Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiva Vanachari Jamuna Tiva Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 1, Text 17. So on this one, this particular meter I wasn't so sure about, so I'm going to just read it out as best as possible. So, but we'll, okay, so Sa Nigrata Kurava Punya Labdho Sanigata Kurava Punya Labdho Gajahavyat Tirta Parani Gajahavyat Tirta Parani Anabukramat Punya Chikraya Sayoryam Annakramat Punya Chikra Sayoryam Adisto Yani Sahasra Murti Adisto Yani Sahasra Murti Sanugita Kuruva Punya Labdo Gajahavya Tirtha Padani Anavakramat Punya Chikra Sayoryam Adisto Yani Sahasramurti Sanugata Kuruva Punya Labdo Gajavya Tirtha Padani Anvakramat Punya Chikra Sayoryam Adisto Yani Sahasramurti. Others?
Sanirgata Kaurava Punya Lakho Gajavaya Tirtha Padappadani Anvakramat Punya Chikirsayoryam Adishtato Yani Sahasramurti Sanirgata Kaurava Punya Lakho Gajavaya Tirtha Padappadani Anvakramat Punya Chikirsayoryam
Sanigata Kaurava Punya Labdo Gajahya Tirtha Padappadani Anvakramat Punya Chikirsayoryam Adhisthito Yani Sahasramurti
Sanirgata Kaurava Punya Lakho Gajavaya Tirtha Padappadani Anvakramat Punya Chikirsayoryam
Adhisthito Yani Sahasramurti Sanigata Kaurava Punya Labdo Gajahya Tirtha Padappadani Anvakramat Punya Chikirsayoryam Adhisthito Yani Sahasramurti
Sa He Vidura Nigrataha after having quit
after having quit
Kuruva, the Kuru dynasty,
the Kuru dynasty,
Punya,
Punya,
Piety, Labdaha, so achieved, Gaja Adavaya from Hastinapur, Tirthapada of the Spring Lord, Padani, pilgrimages, Anavakramat took shelter, Punya, piety, Chikrasaya, desiring so, Urvyam, of high grade, Adishtataha, situated,
situated,
yani,
yani,
all those,
all those,
sasara,
samasha,
thousands,
thousands,
murti,
murti,
forms.
forms.
Translation. By his piety, Vidura achieved the advantages of the pious Kauravas. After leaving Hastinapur, he took shelter of many places of pilgrimages, which are the lotus feet. With a desire to gaining a high order of pious life, he traveled to the holy places where thousands of transformed forms of the Lord are situated. Please repeat. By the piety of Vidura,
By the piety of Madura,
achieved the advantages of pious Kauravas.
Achieving functions of the pious qualities.
After leaving Hastinapur,
After leaving Hastinapur,
he took shelter of many places of pilgrimages,
he took shelter in many places of pilgrimages,
which are the lotus feet,
which are the lotus feet,
with a desire to gain high order pious life.
with the desire to gain a high order of pious life.
He traveled to the holy places
He traveled to the holy places,
where thousands of transformed forms of the Lord are situated.
where thousands of transcendental forms of the Lord are situated.
Oh, I almost forgot. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Vidura was undoubtedly a highly elevated and pious soul. Otherwise, he would not have taken his birth in the Kaurava family. To have high parentage, to possess wealth, to be highly learned, and to have great personal beauty are all due to past pious acts. But such pious possessions are not sufficient for obtaining the grace of the Lord and being engaged in His transcendental loving service. Vidura considered himself less pious, and therefore he decided to travel to all the great places of pilgrimage in the world in order to achieve greater piety and advance nearer to the Lord. At that time, Lord Krishna was personally present in the world, and Vidura could have at once approached him directly, but he did not do so because he was not sufficiently freed from sin. One cannot be 100% devoted to the Lord unless and until he is completely free from all effects of sin. Vidura was conscious that by the association of the diplomatic Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, he had lost his piety and was therefore not fit to associate at once with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:28, this is confirmed in the following verse. Yesham tva antagatam papam jana punya karmanam te vanva maho nirmukta vanchate mam dirvirtaha. Let me close that door. Persons who are sinful asuras like Kamsa and Jarasandha cannot think of Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. Only those that are pure devotees, those who follow the regular principles of religious life as prescribed in the scriptures, are able to engage themselves in karma yoga and then jnana yoga, and thereafter, by pure meditation, can understand pure consciousness. When God consciousness is developed, one can take advantage of the association of pure devotees. Sayan Mahatsvat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishvana. One is able to associate with the Lord even during the existence of this life. Places of pilgrimage are meant for eradicating the sins of the pilgrims, and they are distributed all over the universe just to give facility to all concerned for attaining pure existence and God realization. One should not be satisfied, however, merely by visiting places of pilgrimage and performing one's prescribed duties. He should be eager to meet the great souls who are already there, engaged in the service of the Lord. In each and every place of pilgrimage, the Lord is present in his various transcendental forms. These forms are called archamurtis, or forms of Lord which can be easily appreciated by the common man. The Lord is transcendental to our mundane senses. He cannot be seen with our present eyes, nor can he be heard with our present ears. To the degree that we have entered into the service of the Lord, or to the proportion to which our lives are free from sins, we can perceive the Lord. But even though we are not free from sins, the Lord is kind enough to allow us the facility of seeing him in his archamurtis in the temple. The Lord is all-powerful, and therefore he is able to accept our service by a presentation of the achara form. No one, therefore, should foolishly think that the achara in the temple to be an idol. Such an achara murti is not an idol, but the Lord himself. And to the proportion to which one is free from sins, he is able to know the significance of the achara murti. The guidance of a pure devotee is therefore always required. In the land of Bhartavarsha, there are many hundreds and thousands of places of pilgrimage distributed all over the country. And by traditional practice, the common man visits such holy places during all seasons of the year. Some of the achara representations of the Lord are situated in different places of pilgrimage are mentioned herewith. The Lord is present at Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, as Adi Keshava. The Lord is present at Puri, Orissa, as Lord Jagannath, also known as Purushottam. He is present in Allahabad, Prayag, as Bindu Madhava. At Mandira Hill, he is present as Madhusudana. In the Anandadaranya, he is known as Vasudev, as Padmanabha, and Janardhan at Vishnu Kanchi. He is known as Vishnu. At Mayapur, he is known as Hari. There are millions and billions of such achara forms of the Lord distributed all over the universe. All these archamurtis are summarized in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as in the following words. Savatra Prakrashatanara Bhakti Sukladiti Jagatara Dharma Nashi Dharmashtapati. The Lord has so distributed himself all over the universe just to give pleasure to the devotees, to give the common man the facility to eradicate sins and to establish religious principles all over the world. Om Gyantimirandasya Kananjana Shlakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Litasmasi Gaverama Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Chapatam Nidabhutale Svayamukada Mayam Garanti Svavadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class and hearing the transcendental words of Srila Prabhupada. We can make great advancement just by hearing these instructions. And to start this off, I think it's important. I wanted to refer to the nectar of instruction. And in this particular verse is very nice, because it gives a meditation on the form of the Lord. And this is this is text 7 of Nectar of Instruction. And it's basically the holy name, character, pastimes, and activity of Krishna are all transferred sweet like sugar candy. Of the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, of ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So we see in here, this is a great example of Vidura. Vidura is put in a very difficult position, and he's basically been chastised. He's been criticized by unfortunate, impious personalities who do not have spiritual vision. And what's instructive here with Vidura, even though he's a spotless character, he's a sinless personality and a pure devotee, he took the humble position of thinking of what, even though, as I stated here, he came from a very pious background. He came from a very, because he has associated with the Pandavas, he was a great personality, but due to his piety, he took the humble position of just leaving the personalities that were criticizing him and insulting him. And as it's described in the previous verses, how the insults were actually pierced his heart. But being the great soul that he wasn't thinking that maybe many of us may think that, let me get revenge on this person. Let me think, how do I get back at this person? How do I come up with something more clever to criticize this person? And he could have actually done that, and he probably would have been rightly understood, but he didn't take that position. He didn't want to engage in someone that offended him to offend back. He was actually very reflective in this position. Particularly nowadays, that basically almost anything that you do or say, someone may get offended by, right? And so this is a great example. Vidura is not saying, let me go to a safe place because I've been offended and I'm so hurt. He became very reflective in this. And he went to the holy places, and going to the holy places to associate with the advanced souls, the great devotees. And so, similarly, we may experience this in our own lives. We may always have to deal with offensive personalities. And this is, we can't kind of escape this. But if someone actually criticizes us, we can take two positions. We can say, even if the person is totally engaged in the material energy, okay. So the position is that he's taking the position here of trying to be reflective of his position. And similarly, we have two choices we can make. That even if a person is materially contaminated and they're very sinful, and they want to maybe attack us in some particular way, verbally or mentally in some particular way, even if what they're saying, we have two choices to see from that. We can say is that even though this person may be materially contaminated, there's just some truth to what they're saying. And if there's some truth to what they're saying, maybe it's something I should change about myself. But the other choice is that even if what they're not saying doesn't really apply, this is based out of the false ego, then why should it bother me? Why should it matter? Because this is the position of, we have to understand that that the false ego, as we denote that, sometimes people say the ego, but we say it's the distinction between the ego and the actually false ego. Because we are persons and we have ego, but it's identifying with the false ego, thinking that I am this body, that I am so important, that I am the Lord and all that I serve in. And so when we start thinking that we're important in a sense, because as described here, say we be born in a very pious atmosphere, we may be very rich, we may be very intelligent, we may be very strong, very beautiful. If we identify with this bodily conception of life, then we'll be on the false ego. But even though Vidura, he was such a great personality, that even though he recognized that he was coming from, he had many of these qualities, he understood that this is going to be a determinant. That we should understand that whatever we have in this material world, whether we're very rich, very beautiful, very intelligent, if we're not using it actually in the service of Krishna,
are we using it to advance in spiritual life, then it's actually all useless. And in one sense, we can see that it can be determined that if someone, oftentimes we see that people that are highly intelligent, not always the case, but sometimes we find that sometimes people very highly intelligent or very beautiful, sometimes they're not very reflective because they're thinking that they're so great. And if they are born in such a great situation, they may be thinking, well, what do I need God for? I'm already kind of like a God, and people, and more people should worship you, and I should spend time and propagating my glories. And it's one sense of trying to be the Lord that all they serve it. And we see this as very difficult for some people. When people come from being very rich, very beautiful, or very intelligent, it's actually a great struggle for them to come to spiritual life. But it's not always the case. We find it in many cases that isn't, and people rightly use it in Christian service. And we should see that whatever talents or abilities that we have, we should use it in Christian service. And also, similarly, we may not have any talents. We may not have any skills. But the real point is that we should use everything and anything that we can in Christian service. And this is the choice of every one of us. And so here, Vidura is instructing us very nicely. He's setting the example that even though he was pierced within his heart, he didn't retaliate with anger, but he went to the holy places to make spiritual advancement. And similarly, this is how we should be seeing, is that how do we make actually spiritual advancement? And so it's said right here that we make actually spiritual advancement by going to the holy places and associating with great personalities. And so Prabhupada prescribed this program of going to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. These are the three main holy places we find in India. And we may want to go for tourism. So we should understand, in one sense, we understand that going to these places of pilgrimage is not just kind of going on a vacation or going to see a foreign place. We should understand that these are places to actually make great spiritual advancement. I mean, we could use that in a sense if we want to go for tourism, but we should understand the prime duty of going to these places is to actually make spiritual advancement. And once we go there, we should have the great opportunity of associating with so many great personalities. That's why it's always nice when we go to these places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, or Jagannath Puri, we go during festival time. Because we find that there's devotees from all over the world there. We see many advanced gurus, sannyasis, GBC, so many great personalities that there's so much to learn from. I think the first time that I went, it was very uplifting because I got to hear so many wonderful classes in the temple from so many devotees. And it was always kind of a struggle during that time, because during Gaur Purnim, is that you could go on the pilgrimages to all the holy spots in Mayapur and around that area, or you could stay back in the temple and listen to different seminars or different things going on. And so it was always a struggle what to do. Like, should I stay back and just listen to this wonderful seminar? Should I go on the pilgrimages? All these different things. But I actually knew that no matter what decision I made, it would be the right decision because I was making some kind of spiritual advancement. And we see this as what enthuses us, is that we associate with people that are in touch with Krishna, that can actually enthuse us in our spiritual life. And the whole point of getting enthused is so we can actually enthuse others. So we go to these holy places to get enthused, to come back, wherever we're living or we're residing at a particular time, and being able to give Krishna to others. It gives us that purification and that encouragement to go on in our own spiritual practice. Sometimes one of the problems is that we see great personalities that are they come to different temples and different places to enthuse the community. And at the time, like when a spiritual master or a guru comes, he comes to actually enthuse people in their spiritual life. And we can see everyone gets excited when a great personality comes to give lectures or darshans and is associated in a particular way. And then sometimes what happens, not always, but sometimes it happens when that person leaves, that everyone turns back to normal, just kind of not taking their spiritual life so serious. So this could be kind of discouraging for those people that come, but the idea is for to people to encourage so they can kind of get a kickstart or get enthused in their own spiritual life to continue on, to keep on preaching this message. And this is why Srila Prabhupada traveled all over the world, was to enthuse people in the Krishna consciousness and to bring more people to Krishna consciousness. So we can see that this is the very great instructions of going to a holy place, associated with great spiritual personalities. In particular, here it's saying that we have to worship the deity form of the Lord, and that this is very essential to devotional service. That by engaging in service to the deity, we get this purification. And the Lord actually gives us a great opportunity to worship Him in His deity form. And we may not necessarily have the eyes to see the Lord as He is in His pure deity form due to sinful, or maybe our sinful activities are not being fully purified. But Krishna gives us the opportunity to purify our senses. And as that anyone's ever done deity worship and taken it very seriously, we can understand that after they engage in some deity service, that one feels very pure. One feels it's a very nice experience. So it's recommended that everyone should engage in some deity worship. And we can see that this is how one develops a relationship with the Lord too. And this particular, all services, but this one in particular, because if you're on the altar and you're changing the Lord's into different outfits, or you're offering some type of prasadam, you can see it's a very personal acts of developing that relationship with the Lord. And we can understand in life in general that many things, or you could say in one sense, it's all about relationships. It's about developing the proper relationship with people, right? We can, there's a saying that says that people, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? That we can be so erudite in giving nice lectures and we have so much knowledge in all some particular things, but if we're not interested in people's lives or what people are doing, or just acknowledging people in a particular type of way, we may not get the response that we're looking forward to enthuse a particular person. So this deity worship is very important because it's about developing relationships. And if you notice in the material world, everyone is looking for relationships, right? It's like everyone's looking to love and be loved in a particular way. If you kind of boil Jai Shri Shri Panchatattva, if you kind of deep down and you kind of understand why everyone's doing something in the material world, ultimately everyone's looking for love, right? Everyone's looking for love in some particular way. But the problem is, in the material world, that people are looking for love in all the wrong places, right? There's a country western song.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Thank you. You got someone to sing that was nice. So this is the idea of people trying to find satisfaction through relationships, material relationships, or through drugs, or intoxication, or power, or positions, or all these particular types of things. And we can understand that everyone in the material is doing that in some particular way. But we understand that people become extremely unsatisfied because they're not truly satisfied, because it's all based on the bodily conception of life. It's all based on how do I find pleasure in a material sense. So a lot of people just don't know, so they keep, hitting the same wall. Like, they feel that, oftentimes people get into relationships of the opposite sex, and they're thinking that I'll be satisfied with this person. And then for some time, on a material level, they are satisfied, but it ultimately, many times, does not work. And so if it doesn't work, they just try to make the whole situation a different situation, a different person, a different environment, and kind of make it so they think that'll be kind of different in some situation. But if one's not really dealing with one's internal self and looking at some of the particular functions of the mind, that basically you'll have the same problems. So you can try to change the environment, you can try to change so many things about one's externals, but one's not changing one's internal heart or thoughts about the situation, one will be continually frustrated. And so here, this is giving us the information and actually how to change the heart. change the heart for the better, and we have to do through purification of the heart. So if we are purified within the process of going to the holy places, of associating with advanced personalities, worshiping the deity form, these are all great forms of purification. And we should try to do this on a daily basis every day. And we have this great opportunity being at the temple. We have actually unlimited opportunity to do so many activities. One can actually worship the deity form personally on the altar, but there's other services that one can do. One can cook, one can go out and Harinam, one can chant in so many types of ways. It's practically unlimited. It's just a matter of choosing what you'd like to do. And we have to understand, according to the revealed scriptures, is that we have to engage in service that's actually pleasing to the Lord in so many particular ways. But we also understand also that there are, according to text 3 of the Nectar of Instruction, that there's 6 favorable processes to execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regular principles such as Shravana, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smarna, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of their previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Devotional service is not a matter of sentiment, speculation, or imaginative ecstasy. In substance, it is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 has defined devotional service as follows: Anabila sunyam janma karma anbritam anukulyena krishnanu shilam bhakti uttama. Uttama bhakti, unalloyed devotional service under the Supreme Personal Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves surrendering a devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from the extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma and personal jnana, all other selfish desires. So we understand that we have to engage in devotional service, but to get the purification, we have to understand what's favorable, what's actually pleasing to Krishna. If I want to develop a relationship with someone, it's nice that I want to do something nice for that person, but if I want to really please the person, I understand what that person actually likes. I have to really understand what pleases that person. And this is what makes Krishna conscious a very personal process of knowing the Lord. That we know, according to the revealed scriptures, of what actually pleases Krishna. And it's described here as the 9 processes of devotional service of the Shravana, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaram, Padasevanam, Archam, Vandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanevidam. Hearing the names and the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chanting His glories, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord's feet, worshiping the deity, offering obeisance unto the Lord, acting as the Lord's servant, making friends with the Lord, and surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. And what's also important is that, as described in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi Pranipatena Kripshnena Seviya Uvajanti Te Dyanam Jnaninastapi Darshana. To try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So this is how we understand how to actually engage in devotional service. We have the revealed scriptures that give us a lot, but sometimes we need actual instruction. And this is where the spiritual master comes, that can help us in a particular type of way. It's almost like if you are studying something at the university, one could say, which I think a lot of people try to do nowadays, everyone tries to become an expert by going to YouTube. And for the most part, YouTube can help us with a lot of things. But there are certain things that maybe YouTube may lack that you actually need personal instruction for. It's not that you YouTube something about how to do medicine in some particular way, or how to do a surgery that, okay, you may have some knowledge of that, but it's not that you can actually go perform a surgery or actually give someone actual advice on medicine, but it can give you some particular knowledge. That's why it's important to have actually a teacher in the material sense in many ways. So similar in the same way, we read Bhagavad Gita, and it's a good starter to actually help us to know what we should do. But we actually need that personal instruction from an advanced soul because he's realized in the knowledge. And then we understand that there's there's gyan and vigyan, right? There's knowledge and there's realized knowledge. And many people can be experts in any particular field, but unless they've actually engaged in that particular field with your experience, they may be missing a lot. So they're both very important. So this is the understanding that we have knowledge from a spiritual master to guide us in the proper way in devotional service. And so through this process of devotional service, if we're constantly engaged in serving the deity by engaging in the process of devotional service, then we can actually make great advancements. And I found this very nice quote here. This is from the Ramanujite tradition. It says, "This is the greatest grace of the Lord, that being free, he becomes bound. Being independent, he becomes dependent for all his service on the devotee. In other forms, man belonged to God. But behold, the supreme sacrifice, Ishvara, Krishna, in the form of immortality. For here, the Almighty becomes the property of the devotee. He carries the Lord about, fans him, feeds him, plays with him. Yea, the infinite has become finite, and that child soul may grasp, understand, and love him." So we see that even the Lord is infinite in all his activities. He gives us the opportunity to be able to serve him in a particular way. And it's just similar like when Krishna comes in the form of Gopal, as comes in the child form, that his mother is serving him in so many types of ways. And he actually does many kind of naughty pastimes where he leaves his mother and he goes and steals the butter, and other ladies are complaining that this Krishna is stealing our butter and doing something about this. And so she comes and chastises Krishna in so many particular ways. And Krishna appreciates this because he's seeing the love and devotion that's coming from his pure devotees. So similarly, Krishna comes in the form of the deity so we can develop this love for Krishna and to treat him with love and caring and develop this real love. Because we can see that Prabhupada describes that in this material world, the closest thing to real love in the material world is a relationship between the mother and the child. That the mother gives so much love to the child on an unconditional level, and no matter what the child's doing. Well, the child may pass so much excrement. He may slap the mother. He may do so many particular types of things. He may yell, he may scream, but the mother does not take this seriously. He just understands that he loves the child so much that they're willing to sacrifice everything. And we can see that this is the beauty of mother, that it's so unconditional and so loving in so many types of ways. It's hard for someone to understand it unless one isn't in that position. But similar in the same way that the pure devotee has this unconditional love for God, as it's understood that even described when we read the Shashtakam, that even the Lord may treat me very roughly, but I still want to serve him in so many particular types of ways. So we have to develop this unconditional love. And we may not be on the level of pure devotion, but through the process of Krishna consciousness, as described here, serving the deity form, hearing, chanting, remembering the pastimes of the Lord, we get this purification till we can actually develop this unalloyed devotional service. So if there's any questions or comments? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.